Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever installment of the GotchardCast. We are Otaku Sentai Podranger. This is your host, B-Shuck.
And Ben. Henshi! Done Benshi.
Benshi? Oh, yeah. Is that going to be your catchphrase and all this?
Probably.
Alright. So anyway, we're here to talk about the newest installment of the Kamen Rider series. You know, we just got off the heels of Geats, which is just an absolutely wonderful show.
Absolutely wonderful.
And of course,
my introduction to Kamen Rider.
Yes, that is true. And a hell of an introduction at that.
Absolutely.
But
because I'm very green when it comes to Tokusatsu and Kamen Rider. But B-Shuck, you have a very long history with the Toku genre.
Oh yeah, I've been watching this shit from a very young age, so I'm pretty well versed, I'd say, in this genre. But sadly, Geats has come to a close. But in it, you know, in the cycle of reincarnation that is the Rider series, we have Kamen Rider Gotchard now before us. So we'll be talking about the first two episodes today. Okay, so you know, let's rewind a bit to when we first our first ever look at Gotchard. How did his design make you feel?
To me, like I said, I'm new to Kamen Rider, so I don't know like the ins and outs and like the intricacies of like a lot of the designs and what makes like them like special. But it definitely seemed pretty nostalgic because like I know of like the original Kamen Rider and like a lot of other series. Like I've seen all of Ryuki, I've seen all of Geats, I watched a little bit of 01, and Gotchard's design is very like sporty. I would say it's like
it's very like flashy.
Yeah, definitely like it has that adventurous feel to it. Like you can tell this is a character that's going to go around and basically be collecting a bunch of monsters. Yeah. You know,
and of course, you know, on the topic of nostalgic and the original Rider, it's like the hopper part of his helmet literally looks like the mask of like the original Kamen Rider. Yeah, but he like lifted it up a bit.
Yeah, and it's so cool to see like how the series has been going on for so long, but it's all just so rooted in tradition. Because like Geats just ended like 3 weeks ago, and like we're right into a new series, and
connect pace.
Yeah, dude, and it's like, man, I can't believe I haven't heard of this series sooner. You know,
and it's like I just wonder how they keep like slaving away at this, like the production team.
Yeah,
they're just. I mean, they do like cycle through like certain roles. Like it's always like different writers and directors like working on the shows. So it's not like the same people just getting worked into oblivion.
Yeah,
but
because this show, it feels so much different than Geats.
Yeah,
like because Geats, it felt like primetime drama television, but like this, it's like one of those like Saturday morning like shows that would pop up. You know, like it feels very Pokemon.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, because like Geats kind of had like a little bit of Ryuki in there with all like the riders fighting each other, but this show it's like a whole different theme.
Yeah. And that's really the beauty of like having a new season every year is that sure it's the same template and you see a lot of tropes repeated, but it's from a different angle with like different themes and ideals and like different gimmicks that create like a new experience every time. And that's why there's no like MCU burnout like we feel with that for well, some people feel a bit burnt out because like I said, there are certain tropes that get repeated a ton, but
because like
not for me personally.
The continuity from what I can tell is it's very like because
like you mean between seasons?
Yeah, because around the end of Geats, like you see Hotaro, the protagonist of Gotchard, with Hopper 1, and Ace like it wishes him well, you know, and like that kind of shows me that there's definitely like a sort of continuity, but it's all separate.
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, for the longest time, like Kamen Rider continuity has been basically like a joke.
Yeah.
Because like they'll have crossovers and stuff, but it's like purely for spectacle. And, like, the logic to make the crossovers happen, for the most part, are just, like, sometimes they just have to, like, make shit up. Like, the build the Build crossover with X8 was a big one because, the plot of Build was like 10 years prior. A sky wall comes down and splits Japan into 3 parts. But that obviously wasn't the case in X8.
Yeah.
So that'd be a little weird. So they had to explain it was like 2 different worlds that were like coming together, and that's why they were crossing over.
Interesting.
But the interesting thing about Reiwa, this new era that started with 01, is it feels like they're actually like kind of making it like not necessarily like interconnected like the MCU is, where they're like referencing each other all the time.
Yeah.
But they do put like little details in that kind of implies that it's a shared universe. For example, there's an episode of Saber where like a Humagear shows up like in a crowd out of nowhere, and that's like, whoa. And like, I know in 01, instead of like the years being like AD, it's like CE, which I think means like Common Era.
Yeah.
And like a calendar shows up in Revice with like CE on it. So it's not like everything is still standalone, but they're kind of making it feel more like a shared universe.
Yeah. Because like my thing is that it all has, I think instead of like sharing like a straight up like universe, it's more of sharing themes with each other. Especially with the crossover movies that they'll come out with.
Yeah.
Like with the Geats and the Revice crossover. Like I never even touched Revice. The only bit of Revice I've seen is from the Geats show, and like, well, not exactly the show, but
the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, the only thing I know about Revice is from the Geats movie, and I think that Geats did a really good job of making me interested in the series before.
Yeah,
and it does a good job of like putting like past characters in that like people were like, oh yeah, I really like that season, and maybe I'm sad to see it go, but it's cool to see the current season pay homage to that,
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to see if they do that with Geats and Gotchard. Oh, that's going to be awesome.
They inevitably will, although
Yeah.
it's weird they haven't announced that movie yet. Usually that'd be announced by now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's probably going to happen. But, anyway, back to Gotchard himself.
Yeah.
So, obviously the biggest draw about this show is the cards. They saw what Yu-Gi-Oh! And One Piece, raking in all that money from cards.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we got to get in on that because, at the end of the day, Kamen Rider is a merchandise-driven show.
Yeah.
Which, isn't inherently a bad thing, but, we have 101 Kemis to collect.
Yeah.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah. That's like the super Pokemon-esque. It's like, because like looking at the cards in the show, like the
Kemis basically are Pokemon.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah, because like I'm looking at them and it's like, oh well, the whole like idea is like taking like lower number cards and higher number cards and then balancing them, and like it's interesting to see how like they sell card packs of them, and it's just that's straight up what you get, and I don't know if they're gonna do any kind of like game about it in the future, like through the cards.
I don't think so, because like the cards themselves don't have any like text or any like they're purely just to like collect.
Interesting.
Sure. And to use with the Gotchard Driver DX, which you can buy on Amazon or whatever, and interact with the toys. But I don't think they're like making a game out of it.
Yeah,
it's just another thing to collect.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see that because like they're basically just like baseball cards, but for not even baseball cards, like actual Pokemon cards, but for like just collecting purposes.
Yeah,
so it's interesting.
But then the other big motif that actually really like surprised me when I heard about it was alchemy, which I'm sure plenty of us are big Full Metal Alchemist fans.
Absolutely,
so that definitely came to mind. And I think the way that it's coming up like already in the show is really interesting because of course the Kemis were born from alchemy, just like I don't know. I guess they were making shit in the lab.
Yeah.
And sprouted these monstrosities.
Just like a total accident.
Yeah. And then, even more interestingly, is that since Gotchard uses 2 cards for each of his forms, it's like an alchemic combination of the two.
Yeah.
So he like takes these 2 Pokemon and like creates like some monstrous fusion of the two, and it's like I'm glad like that really leans into like the Pokemon aspect because like we saw in episode 1 when he first transforms, like he doesn't automatically become a rider. He becomes a Hopper 1 and Steamliner, which is like a train and a grasshopper like fused together.
Yeah.
And then he becomes a rider. So I'm glad they're really leaning into like the alchemy aspect.
Absolutely.
And it's like with how deep Full Metal Alchemist gets with its philosophy, if they replicate some of that in Gotchard, then this might be another all-timer season, possibly.
Yeah, because like I like the idea of like fusion, and then like fusing cards to become like the fusion of those cards, and then like having that fusion turn into the suit itself. That's sick.
Oh yeah,
that is a really cool idea. Because like the Gotcha driver itself, it's like I'm really looking forward to seeing like what can be done with it. Because like with Geats and the Vision drivers, well, not exactly the Vision drivers, but the actual like game drivers that they had.
Desire drivers.
Yeah, the Desire drivers. Like I always forget the names, but like the revolve mechanic that they had, and then like just all the different like functions they could do with it. That was so cool to see. And this time it's like they're up in the ante, and it's like, what if we added Pokemon to the mix?
I don't know. I will say my hot take: the Gotchard driver itself is
a bit
like
clunky.
very basic.
Yeah,
like you just insert the cards in, and then you just like pull the levers, and it's very.
Yeah.
It's kind of mid. Probably my least favorite driver of the Reiwa era already.
Yeah, it looks a bit, because like, you said 01 was the first Reiwa series.
Right.
Yeah, because I've seen a little bit of 01. And with 01, like, the drivers, I mean, I guess they had cool transformations. It's just, I had a bit of an issue with the suits.
Oh, you didn't? Well,
I don't know. I guess Geach just kind of, like, spoiled me with the suits, because the suits in Geats were so good.
Right.
And I mean, the suits we've seen so far in Gotchard, which is just Hotaro's, that looks so good.
And plus, 01 was kind of like the first of Reiwa, so it was kind of back to basics a bit.
Yeah, first of its kind.
Yeah.
Because like, I like the idea of 01. I should watch it more.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think with that, we're ready to get into episode 1.
Oh yeah. So, my first impression, because we're coming right off the heels of Geats. The ending of Geats was just so good. You know, like, I won't say anything for people who haven't seen it, but it just wraps everything up perfectly, and it's like, man, I'm really going to miss these characters, and then we get, like, right next week, right in the next series. So, I was worried that I would kind of get burnt out really quickly, because, usually whenever I binge series, or, like, watch a series, and I get really used to it, and I go on to, like, another property within that series. Say, if I played all of Final Fantasy VII, and I played the remake, Crisis Core, and then like watched Advent Children, got really used to the Final Fantasy VII world, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go play Final Fantasy VIII now. I just find myself like, this just isn't the same, and I just get burnt out. With this, I'm honestly I just keep looking forward to it, because it's steady. It's a steady pace from how Geats ended, and then just going on to something entirely new. Because it's almost like I can't even compare it to Geats,
right?
Because like when I played Final Fantasy VIII, I was always comparing it to Final Fantasy VII. And it's unfair because I shouldn't be doing that. But with this, it's like I haven't had those thoughts with Gotchard,
right?
And because like this, it's a whole new concept, a whole new just ball game, pretty much. Because, like, starting out, and it's like, you see all these, like, 101 Chemi cards, and, like...
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah. Gotchado!
Gotcha, catch them all. There we go. That's the slogan.
But it's like, there's such a good setup, because you see this guy in this, like, weird world, and there's, like, an Ouroboros snake.
Oh, yeah.
Just, like, in the sky, and then he, like, has all the 101 Chemis just lined up in front of him. And then these, like, what were they called? The Dark Sisters?
Yeah, like the 3 Dark Sisters or whatever.
The 3 Dark Sisters just come out of a portal, and they're like, okay, we need those Chemis. So, he meets the 3 Dark Sisters, and they're like, we need these Chemis. So
we need these Pokemon. So we can sell them on eBay.
Yeah, scalpers just attack him, and so he's got to throw away all the cards, and they all go out into the real world, and
I think right after that is when we meet our protagonist.
Yep, Hotaru Ichinose.
Yeah, Jinx. Yeah, that's synced up.
Yeah. So yeah, honestly, I like him. I like him as a protagonist because like he feels a bit more. It's like almost like a coming of age. He's very different from Ace from Geats,
and it's like, I noticed the fandom at large, which it's hard for me to gauge that well because I'm not on Twitter anymore really, so I'm not really paying attention to what anyone's saying.
Yeah,
but I did watch one YouTube video like reacting to the first episode, and he was just like literally the first scene of this guy, and the YouTuber's like, this guy has a really punchable face. And it's like he's like the people were so starstruck by Ace being like such a badass that people just have forgotten that sometimes the protagonist of Rider is just like a guy. Yeah, and that's okay. He's just a high school kid.
Yeah, because like Ace has lived like 1,000 lifetimes, and freaking it's just a regular high school kid in this position now.
It's like a hydrogen bomb versus coffee.
Yeah, because I don't see Gotchard becoming a god or anything, but because honestly, like he fits the go-getter vibe. He fits the high stakes personality. Well, not exactly high stakes, but
he's like the kind of protagonist you would see in like a Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh series, which this is obviously like trying to emulate.
Absolutely, that. He's definitely like you can tell he's a go-getter. You can tell like he's the most like inspired person in the show as of right now because like he's got a whole new world of alchemy just shoved in his face, and he's like, "I'm ready to go." And so it's cool to see like someone who's just like zero experience and just ready to get out into the Rider world versus like Ace, who has seen it, been there, done that, and like develops from there. Here it's a clean slate, but it definitely fits that kind of like Pokemon, like Digimon vibe, where it's like we gotta catch all of these things, these little creatures. And they even speak their own names like Pokemon.
Yeah. And, that's the great thing about, like, the cycle of Rider is that it's a whole new protagonist each time with, like, their own experience and ideals and worldview. And so, tying back to crossovers, that's what makes them, well, the good ones anyway, satisfying is seeing, like, how those ideals, like, can, like, clash and, like, the differences between them.
Yeah.
And so...
It just makes you think. It's like how would Geats and Gotchard like get along?
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how that goes when their movie comes out.
Because let's see, wasn't there a thing for the cards that like has like old writers from the past?
Oh, in the packs, yeah. Which I wonder if like those will like. I'm really wondering like how those would be like tied into like the crossover movie. Like I guess somebody somehow creates chemis based on writers and they like run amok.
Interesting. Yeah, I think they can definitely do something like that, or maybe even like have the Jamato and like the what the show's enemies are called, the Amalgams. Do something with that because the Jamato, I like the Jamato. They were interesting because they didn't really fit the overall, like, I guess, design of Geats because they were very unique in how they looked. They definitely seemed like a plant species, Yeah. But Gotchard, like, I really like the villains. Like, the Three Dark Sisters and their, like, they fight on their own, and then they have the... Like, so they can corrupt the chemis, or like other people can corrupt the chemis.
Yeah, I don't think they've gotten too deep into it, but it's just something about human malice when a chemi is exposed to it.
Yeah.
It just like mutates them, and that's how we get the amalgam monsters.
Yeah. Like, the the first episode, we see that there's a amalgam creature that was made out of like, what was his name? It was the praying mantis one.
Oh yeah.
That was cool. But episode 2's was so good because it was
Skibo.
Yeah, Skibo. It was the skateboard, and it's like an evil skateboard dude spawned out of it. So it's just like objects.
I love
creatures.
how like he tries to like get on the skateboard and like get away.
Yeah.
From Gotchard.
Oh yeah, it's just like it's. I'm just so ready to see all the creative designs that come out of the show because like the Jamato, they were pretty much there like because Geats was very much inspired by video games.
Yeah.
And like it's like they were just they're the enemies, but here it's like you got all these like different designs that are like turning into like monstrous creatures. So it's like seeing like dark Pokemon, but like this show's version of it.
Like imagine if you saw a Pokemon like mutate with a human and become like a monstrosity.
Yeah,
like that'd be hardcore.
That's pretty much what this show is, and it's like. All these, like, it's really just like it's built on these just cool ideas, right? And it's like it's funny because like within the first episode, you see that Hotaro just like even as a writer, it's funny because he feels like he sticks out because they're the other people in the show that like fight alongside him. They're not writers; they're alchemists.
Yeah,
and so they have their own set of powers aside from writers because they can just like mess with the environment, telekinesis, like just. General alchemy, and it's like that's what was really cool. That's what stuck out to me because I've seen like all these different like Kamen Rider series, but not one had ones that like fought like in like a form other than rider forms.
Right.
So I thought that was cool.
I mean, I think there are a few other seasons that like have non-writer characters. Be useful.
I know 01 kind of was like, there's like a squadron that like is supposed to be like against the human gears. And they fight with like guns. They're like aims. Like they're basically just general armaments. But this is like a whole other like move set. Right. It's
like I always think of what was his name? Ichijo from Kuga.
Yeah.
Is like Kuga's like detective best friend who could have easily been the secondary writer. But, like, he's just a cop, basically. Like, all he has is a gun, and that's it.
Yeah.
He's just investigating the Grongi and putting his life on the line. But
that came out a couple years before Ryuki, didn't it?
Yeah. Kuga was 2000.
I see. Yeah, it definitely feels 2000. Because whenever we watched Ryuki, I was like, wow, this is definitely, like, you can tell it's a product of its time. And I say that in a good way, because, like, that you can't beat the early 2000s aesthetic.
Yeah, Ryukyu is very Y2K in its vibe.
Definitely.
But yeah, with the alchemists in Gotchard, like, the way they fight the monsters is, there's definitely, like, room to be as creative with that as possible.
Yeah.
And, of course, as long as it, revolves around the principle of all comes from one and returns to the one. So it's like, they can do whatever just so long as it can return back to its normal state.
Yeah.
And I like how it's like, the principles of alchemy like flash on the screen in a very like stylized way.
Yeah, because it's cool to see that because it's like the possibilities are really limitless of what like Gotchard can do.
Yeah,
and like what we can see just from this character. Because like with Geats, like with the drivers, like it's cool to see like revolve and see how like they can mix and match all these different abilities. But here it's like there's like a even bigger like list of things that we can see because like Gotchard turning into the grasshopper train in the first episode it was really cool to see because it's like the second episode we might be getting ahead of ourselves but the second episode was instead of like a CG grasshopper he turns into a tornado praying mantis
and then they just have like the JPEG of the fusion.
It's like drawn.
Which, it makes me wonder if like they're gonna do that. Like, it makes me wonder like how many of these like creatures in CGI we're actually gonna see.
I bet they're gonna make a couple that are like, if they really want to keep like the budget to like, if they want to like really be smart about the budget, they'll draw what they can, but they're really gonna excel at what they want to show us, So I feel like if we get like any crazy combinations of super rare cards, we're gonna see some really cool things out of that.
And speaking of the CG, they
very good.
Yeah, especially for the transformation sequence.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when that first trailer dropped, I remember thinking wow, why does the transformation sequence look so boring? But they absolutely did not show us the final product in that trailer.
Absolutely.
Because the fucking sequence where he's in the beaker and they show the two Kemis merging into one, and then of course when he goes into Rider form and we see his chest open up with the furnace,
yeah, dude,
and the fire is animated, that was exactly what I wanted to see.
Because it's the Gotchard driver itself, it's just insert the cards, good to go, but it has this whole transformation sequence where all the parts are just slamming onto his arms and legs, and then you see the helmet form on his head and split open.
Oh, yeah.
And boom, his eyes show up, and his eyes reflect the show's logo, or the little arrows.
Yeah,
it's so good, such a good design.
That is what we in the industry call the good shit.
Absolutely. Yeah, because it sort of reminded me of Gridman's, from Super Rise Gridman, how the transformation sequence goes, where main character goes into the digital world, and then they morph together, and then they're able to actually go out into the fight. Here it kind of feels like that, but it's more of an Iron Man suit up sequence is what I got from it.
Yeah.
So it's really visually nice to watch.
For sure.
And then it's cool to see all the different variations that'll pop out just from all the cards he's using.
Yeah. And it's because if there are 101 Kemi, then, that's an odd number. So we'll remove one and then split that by 2, since it's 2 per form. That's 50 different possible forms. And that's just the base forms, unless... I do think that there's gonna be maybe 10 base forms, and then some of those other Kemis are gonna be for other characters, possibly other riders, and then maybe some are locked to super forms.
Yeah.
Because the way it's split up is that there are 10 sort of archetypes of Kemis, and then 10 cards for each archetype, 1 for each level. And the levels go from 1 to 10. And so for Gotchard's forms, both sides have to equal 10.
Yeah.
But then there are Kemis that are level 10. And it's how do they factor into this?
I'm interested to see how that works out.
Yeah. I'm guessing those might be the super form Kemis or something.
I'm ready for him to pull a survive card from Ryuki and then just totally bring Ryuki back.
That'd be insane.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I love Ryuki. Just the world, I want to see more of it.
Oh yeah. Ryuki is an all-timer. Yeah. And I mean, my personal favorite Rider season.
Yeah, it's really good. I think Geats is my top for now.
Even
though I've only seen 3. But Geats, I've only finished Geats and Ryuki, and I've also watched Shin Kamen Rider to completion. But yeah, that's all the Rider series I've completed so far. But yeah, seeing just all these different things going on, just a general world of alchemy, where it's oh, my homeroom teacher is an alchemist, and my other friend over here is an alchemist, and then the guy who gave me all the Gotcha driver itself, which apparently was that, I think, what was her name?
Rina,
yeah. She, apparently her dad or grandfather, I can't remember, was the one that gave...
Pretty sure it was dad.
Yeah. Because whenever he just, because doesn't he, wait at the train station and then hop on the steamliner?
Yeah.
And then he's oh, where's this going? And then the dude's I need you to take these. And then just gives him the gotcha driver while he's just, cut up and bruised.
Yeah.
It's who did this to you? And it's they did. And he points at a little girl. And then, that's whenever the first fight pretty much goes down. Because you see a little bit of alchemist action with Reen fighting back against the amalgam that one of the Dark Sisters turns the praying mantis one into, and which is a really cool design. Because like looking at it, it's like, yeah, this is I already like this more than the Yamato designs. Not that I didn't like the Yamato designs, just they kind of stuck out to me, you know.
Yeah, the Yamato, they're like, because obviously the monsters were not at all the focus of Geats.
Yeah.
So they kind of like...
They were just grunts.
Yeah, and they had like the occasional like boss Yamato design.
Yeah.
But...
Which I did enjoy the boss Yamato designs. They were very, like, they felt really alien.
See, I mean, with the Amalgam, I'm not like head over heels over him personally.
Yeah.
But obviously, I've seen so many more monster designs that like the bar is a lot higher for me.
Definitely.
And like they're serviceable, but I don't know, they're just kind of like average to me so far. Besides the skateboard Amalgam, because he literally just has a skateboard head.
Yeah, it's
and he like still skateboards even though he's a freaking monster.
Yeah.
And so there's undeniable charm there, and plus, because the chemis are so varied, there's going to be variation in motifs.
Definitely a lighter tone to the monsters, though.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because, like, they're definitely sinister, but, like, you can just tell, like, the tone is just so much lighter than it was in Geats.
Yeah.
Because, like, the Yamato is straight up just kill people. And, like, the skateboard's just like, I'm gonna skate all in your face. It's like,
yeah, man. He's just freaking playing Tony Hawk IRL.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that the general idea of Gotchard, the concept, it's really good. Like I don't miss Geats just because the ending was just so good.
Yeah, it gave us a lot of closure.
Lots of closure in Geats' ending, and with this show, I think it's a good like
change of pace.
Yes, because it's like I said earlier, like it's like the Saturday morning programming versus like primetime drama that Geats was.
And honestly, I think this is like the perfect thing to follow up with Geats, because it's like with Geats, it was literally like trying to be subversive. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know if this is like an actual source or like has a source, but I read that with Geats, because the year before with Revice was the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
And so they wanted to ring in another 50 years by just doing stuff as differently as possible. And so with Geats, they definitely proved that with its concept.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm glad that Gotchard is following it up with like something a little more down to earth. I wouldn't say back to basics, because I do think they're trying a lot of new things still. And while the story does feel like very basic and like very Saturday morning, I feel like there's just like a lot more that we aren't seeing yet, that it's just like slowly gonna unravel, and it's like really gonna pile up to hopefully something great.
Yeah, because we don't even know who the Dark Sisters really are.
Right.
Like we don't know what the heck they want.
I mean, I don't think we even know like why the Gotchard driver was made. Or
oh
where it
yeah,
came
no.
from.
Because all it was Hodoro gets on the steamliner and he's like, "Oh, is this a train?" And then Reen's dad just like, "Hey, here's the driver," dies, and then it's like you're with Hodoro because like you're in this high school kid's shoes, and then just like the world of alchemy just like falls on him, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm ready to go," like, and it's like we're gonna be in his shoes the whole time, like because this is a world that he is not a part of, that he is traversing, and he is like neck deep into it now. So like, it's going to be interesting seeing his growth throughout the series. Because like with Geats, it was more like Ace is just, he's a top dog, he's on top of things. He's like the Batman of Kamen Rider, practically.
Wouldn't that be Kamen Rider Knight?
I guess that'd be true. But more of like prep time. Because he's just always thinking ahead.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but Knight definitely he's definitely the Batman.
He is literally the man with a bat for a pet.
I'm ready to see. It'd be cool if they had like the Ryuki like monster cards. It's like, oh, we're gonna take Drag Ritter and Darkwing and like mix them together through alchemy.
Oh, that would actually be raw as hell.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh man.
Which I mean, like I said, with the Legend Rider cards that are in the Chemi packs, like they could just throw those in like a special or something,
Yeah.
and like have new forms, because they will, like they have made like new, Legend Rider forms like just to show off in like specials. Because I know Kamen Rider Ghost had a whole like series dedicated to just having like forms based on like past riders, like just for the hell of it, just to show it off. So I could see them doing that for Gotchard as well.
Wasn't Decade kind of like that?
Well, Decade literally transformed into past riders.
Interesting.
So it's funny you mentioned Decade, because that season was the last time they had used like cards as a collectible.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And so I forget the like exact name. I guess they were just called like ride cards or whatever. And so he'd put one into his Deca driver and just transform into whatever rider was on the card. And then he had like other cards like Attack Ride for like different attacks, or Final Attack Ride for final attacks.
Yeah.
And so there are different like card like types. And it was actually a tie-in with an arcade game. So like, you know, Dragon Ball Heroes, right?
Yeah.
Kamen Rider had like the same thing called Ganba Ride. And Decade's cards literally just identical to the Ganba Ride cards. So it was a total tie-in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Heroes, that's a whole other thing I could talk about for ages.
Oh yeah. I mean, Japan, one of the coolest things that they have that sadly we'll probably never have are the card arcade games.
Oh,
where
yeah.
like you collect cards and then use them in an arcade machine.
Oh yeah, there's actually I remember at Dave & Buster's there's some Injustice machines that use cards.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then there's the Minecraft store. No, it's the Minecraft Dungeons
That has
arcade
cards?
machine. That you get a card out of it and you can scan it in.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a lost art because like not a lot of arcade machines do that.
Well, I mean,
We need to bring back Hyperscan.
wait, what was that? Oh, no, that was the Tiger Electronics thing.
Yeah.
Oh, no, we can leave that one behind. That freaking...
Terrible. Like, my brother had it. He had the Ben 10 game and the X-Men game. Oh, they're so bad.
Jesus. The thing probably runs worse than a Super Nintendo.
Oh, it's so ridiculously bad.
Man.
Yeah, I wonder what a Kamen Rider Hyperscan game would look like.
Yeah. Freaking scan Chemi cards
Yeah.
on the Hyperscan and the will explode.
The tutorial blocks him and then just ruins the game, flags him out.
But anyway, back to Gotchard. The other big draw is that this is a high school focused season, which isn't the first time like this has happened, because Kamen Rider Forze was like heavily like high school based, and I feel like that like leans even more into the high school, because that was like the primary setting.
Yeah.
But with Gotchard, I mean, technically he goes, arguably even more leans into it, because he not only does he go to regular boring school, but now he goes to Alchemist Academy. So the dude just goes to school 24/7.
Yeah.
What a miserable existence.
That's what I thought too, because like his the homeroom teacher was like, yeah, I work at school and then I work at this school. So it's like, dude, you have zero life.
I don't think anyone in this show has a life.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's like, what the heck, man? You're going to CC. I don't know what exactly like the times to go to school is, but actually, I do know they only have one day off of school, I think, in Japan. And it's only on Sunday. Because like I know like Saturday's their Friday.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah. But at least that's how it is in Persona 5.
Oh.
So I'm basing this off of Persona. But like
Does real life is real life reflected in Persona?
yeah. But either way, a 1 day weekend, a 2 day weekend, they're still going to school from what, like 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then they got alchemist school. It's like dude's going like all day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like they did mention like, oh, come here for classes tomorrow. So it's like I don't know if I don't know exactly how they're doing that. If they're just like, oh yeah, I work as a teacher just to get money, because I don't know exactly what the payment of a alchemist teacher would be.
He just transmutes his own money.
Yeah, man, that teacher, he's got to have a rough time. His day is packed.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, it is a TV show. They probably like aren't thinking about like the literal like time like passing, and so maybe they like didn't even think about like how time consuming this would be. But
yeah, oh yeah, I think it's interesting how like Ichinose. I think it's interesting how Ichinose's friend, who like totally believes in monsters.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Like he freaking comes in close encounters with like all these amalgams, and then just gets his mind wiped every time.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to be a gag that goes on throughout the series.
Yeah. Like I can tell he's going to be like a fan favorite, like comic relief character.
Definitely.
But who knows? Maybe he will become a writer one day.
That would be sick. I'd love to see that.
Because it's like with these modern writer shows, anybody who is even remotely relevant is like possibly going to become a writer.
Yeah.
So.
Because I mean, we are going to be seeing a new writer this next episode.
Well, he's not a writer technically.
Yeah, he's more. Yeah.
He's like.
I don't know exactly what he is.
So I forget like the exact terminology. Like I know the writer wiki calls them debatable writers, where they're not called Kamen Riders, or they're not, but they're still like masked like heroes or villains that like kind of fit the mold, but are like decidedly different.
Yeah, so kind of like
and
like the Vision Drivers almost.
Well, no, they're writers because they're literally called like Kamen Rider, Glare,
yeah.
Gazer, but with Valverad, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his big ass sword is called the Velvet Rush. But oh yeah, I love how he at the end of episode 2 he just slings it over his shoulder like a badass. And he's like, if you want to make friends with the Chemis, what a joke! Oh man, what an edgelord!
Yeah, it's gonna be because like,
and
I'm so ready for that because it's like you got like the super go getter that Ichinose is, and then. You got this dude who's like, you play Pokemon?
That game's for babies, bro.
Yeah, the baby game.
I read Bleach. That's why I have a big ass sword. But the design, now that we're talking about Valverad, his design is like killer.
Oh yeah,
because like the gears and stuff like on his helmet and his dirty ass like white I don't know if you can call them pants, but like it's a very like rustic, almost like a bootleg rider system.
Yeah, yeah. It's just interesting to like, just like see such a contrast, and like especially if he's just gonna be carrying a sword around all day. Because I wonder if he's just like if he's gonna like use alchemy powers, but also like have like these like rider-esque powers too.
Well, he is. If you saw on his jacket, he has the Alchemist Academy insignia.
Yeah.
So he's like in the school, and like as far like we see him in the opening, like fighting monsters.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's gonna be like a good guy, because like usually if they're not a writer and they're just like showing up like all ominous like that, then usually they're a villain. But I do wonder like what his development's gonna look like, because they say on the writer wiki that like the synopsis, it's like good and evil are two sides of the same coin, and I'm really interested to see how that's going to manifest in the plot. Because
like I wonder if it's going to be like it's like we get all the chemis and like we find it's really we just don't know, because like we don't know enough to really make the theory. Because I mean like the Dark Sisters, we know that they're I think it's one of them's name is Clotho.
Yeah.
And so I think the other two, I think there's one that's like Lachesis.
Yeah.
And so it's like Greek mythology in that.
Oh, definitely.
With I don't know where Ouroboros spawned from, what mythology that's from.
Well, the Ouroboros, it represents like the cycle of reincarnation in alchemy, where like everything becomes one.
Yeah. So it's like it could be like mixing good and evil. I bet this show, because like usually Kamen Rider, from what I've seen, like it'll be pretty like normal in the first couple episodes, and then it really like when the story kicks in, that's when the deep themes start to really show themselves.
Oh, definitely.
So I feel like this show's gonna have a turn at some point.
They're probably gonna be like multiple turns,
Definitely.
honestly, especially if they're like getting into like the duplicity of good and evil.
Yeah.
And it's like I already have like suspicions that like the Alchemist Academy is like not what it seems.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
That's
it's
what I'm thinking too.
And admittedly, that's like become kind of a trope now in Reiwa, where it's like the organization of the season like always is like not what it seems.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, with Geats, it was super obvious with the DGP because it's like, yeah, they're playing this like weird survival game with Kamen Rider, and like obviously the point of the show was gonna be like trying to dismantle that, but like in the season before Revice, there's like Phoenix, this organization that's supposed to like deal with the dead mans and all these like devil monsters popping out.
Yeah.
I knew from fucking episode 1 that they were gonna be evil, because it's like one of those where it's like, I mean, it pretty much started with a smart brain in Kamen Rider 5's, where there's like the organization that like has these like moralistic like platitudes, but there's just like a dark side like lurking underneath.
Yeah.
And Phoenix just gave me that vibe immediately, and so I'm honestly thinking like even the Alchemist Academy might pull the same trope, and like that turns out to be corrupt, because like I feel like that's just kind of a trope at this point.
Yeah. Because I wonder, like, even since it's a trope, and this is the 5th Reiwa series, I think.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll try to subvert it somehow. Because
and even before Revice, you know, Kamen Rider Saber had the Sword of Logos organization.
Yeah.
Which, like, it was a good organization from the start, but then it just got heavily corrupt because of, like, vested interests, and, like, the people running the organization had just, like, lost their mind. And so, like, that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, 01, I guess Zero One didn't really have that, because any organization that was evil, like, you knew it from the start. Like, it wasn't like
Shocker.
Well, not necessarily Shocker, but
Yeah.
something even more evil. Corporations, specifically. Well, Hidden Intelligence was like good. You know, since the main character was the CEO, it'd be kind of weird if that company was evil. But like Zaya, which is Gaia Matsu's company, like that was like the evil organization of that season.
Yeah.
But yeah, this Alchemist Academy. Actually, what if the Alchemist Academy is good and it's actually the normal high school? That's
We're all special. That'd be crazy. Because, like,
I mean, that'd be pretty true to real life. I mean, high school is a pretty evil place.
yeah. It's like, I'm wondering if we're going to be exploring good and evil, I wonder if Hotaro is going to be subjected to, like, becoming evil in some form. Because I know,
I don't think he seems
not exactly evil, but more of, like, maybe he'll, like, take a turn. Maybe something like with what Keiwa did.
That'd be interesting,
Yeah.
for sure. But I think what's going to happen is he's still going to be a good guy, but society around him is going to be like against him, because he like finds out the truth, and the truth goes against the status quo, and that puts him at odds against everyone.
Yeah, so that's what they could do between good and evil.
Yeah.
And it's like, it makes sense that's why he sticks out like a sore thumb compared to the other cast members as of right now.
He's a bloomer in a world full of doomers.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, it's like, if he finds out like a hard truth, and then like other people need to know about it, and it's like people are going to be against him, I'm really interested to see how they'll like take that, because like he seems like the perfect protagonist to be like, if the world's against me, I'm against the world. Well, not exactly I'm against the world, but like I will prove to them like what I'm seeing here. I will show them what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
And like he's gonna do that the best way he can, I think, because like just he has that go-getter gotcha mentality, and like.
I mean, he's got to catch them all.
Yeah.
He can't let anyone stop him.
Yep. I think Gotchard is going to be something special.
Yeah.
Because like it's such a unique, like why didn't I think of that idea? Almost, and it's just like, why haven't this been even done before?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, it's crazy how much like how the different shows use cards as like a mechanic,
Yeah.
and then it's like how they can be so different. Because this is just it's so cool, you know. It's like they took an idea that sounded cool, and then they just went with it.
Yeah, they just brought it to life from their imagination.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see where the story goes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude.
It definitely helps that the writer, like the person writing the story, I think Keiichi Hasegawa.
Yeah.
He wrote Ultraman Dyna and Nexus, and he wrote the Gridman anime.
Oh, SSSS Dark Gridman?
Yeah. And so what else did he write? I know recently he wrote, like, some of the best parts of Saber, and, like, that season was really good.
Yeah.
So I think I have a lot of high hopes for Gotchard just based on the writer alone.
Yeah.
So I think I trust what he's cooking.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, because, like, they killed it on the suit design. Like, it's just, like, his base design just looks awesome. Because, like, the Geese designs, I mean, yeah, they were very, like, top-heavy.
Right. And it was, like, the Geese designs were made to be, like, so the entry forms were made to be simple.
So they could actually, like, add stuff to them.
And, like, swap, like, very easily.
Yeah.
And just to have, like, as many writers as possible. Because they just had, like, so many.
And the suit design is it's so intricate. So you see these intricate, like, designs for the suits for Ichinose, Gotchard, and
Valvarad?
Valvarad, yeah.
I hate how similar his name sounds to
Alpharad, dude. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do because you got these intricate designs on top of all the fusions and all the fusion designs and all the different things you can do with like the cards themselves. I think that like we're in for a really if anything we're in for a very fun season.
Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah. I have a feeling they're putting a lot of their eggs into this basket.
Yes.
In a good way.
Yep. But especially like with all the card packs, like not only are they going to be able to sell drivers, but they're going to be able to sell these card packs.
Yeah.
101 Kennies. Well, I'm ready to see them all.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, I think we've pretty much touched all the bases.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, pretty solid. Like, pretty simple first two episodes. Like, nothing too mind-blowing has happened yet, but very much just a fun start to what could possibly be another classic season after Geats, which glad to see.
It's like something, like, I was so, like, worried about the show not being able to live up to Geats, but then I realized it's like, it's not about living up to Geats. It's about creating their own legacy.
Yeah.
And it's like, and this show, it'll definitely live up to Geats. I think. I hope.
It's like the morning.
Let's have to see what it can do.
The morning for the end of Geats has passed, and now we are celebrating the birth of a new season with Gotchard. And with that wraps our first ever episode of the GotchardCast. We hope you enjoyed. You know, any comments, feedback. You know, this is like our first podcast ever, so you know, just lay it on us.
Yeah.
And with that, we are signing off. Any last words?
Henshin!
Wow. Profound.
Profound.